Hi there, friends. David Etienne back with you at Etienne's Place. Hope you had a wonderful week and hope that everything's going well. I know the pollen out there is affecting some of us very badly, but it is that time of year while we enjoy the beautiful sunshine and the warm weather, we also have to contend with the pollen. But just be careful, take care of yourselves, and try to keep as healthy as possible. Now, during this tax season, more than ever, from my recollection, I've had a number of clients, new clients coming to me. And the question of ITIN, ITIN keeps coming up. ITIN, that's the individual tax identification number. And I thought today I would just give a little tidbit on it so that we understand what it's about. Because what I've come to realize is that a number of persons who need to have one is either they're not aware of the possibility of receiving such a number, or they're not aware of the process of attaining such number. Now, quite often for general purposes, whether it be U.S. citizens or U.S. residents, then we're given what is known as a social security number. With a social security number, we basically transact all our businesses and primarily, since we're talking about taxes here, that's what we would use to file our tax returns. There are, however, cases where individuals do not have a social security number because either they have not yet qualified for such or they are in the process, some immigration process, and so they have not yet received a social security number. However, they may have US obligations as far as tax is concerned because some individuals, though not having a social security number, they may be given authorization to work in the US. And by virtue of earning in the US, then they end up with an obligation to report earnings, to file their taxes, and to make the necessary tax payments. So some clients, some person would come to me and say, okay, I've worked for the past 2, 3 years, but because I do not have a social security number, I have not filed any tax returns. Or um, they may have said, okay, I have all this thing and I'm wondering whether or not I can just file everything that I earned over the past several years on one year. I'm saying no. Each year needs to be reported on its own. However, back to the ITIN, individual tax identification number. As I indicated earlier on, this is a number that is strictly for the purpose of facilitating an individual to, as it were, carry out their obligations under the tax law by virtue of the fact that that person worked and earned in the US. Now, there are two ways to file you can go and apply basically for your such a number, that identification number, tax identification number. You may wish to just go ahead and complete the application. Okay, complete the application form for to apply for your tax ID. It's a basic form. It asks for your basic information, name, address, etc. It asks questions as to when did you come into the US. They refer to it as landed kind of thing. And so those are very simple, basic questions that you answer and you submit this form. And it's referred to as a W7 form, and you submit it into the IRS, and that's your application for an individual tax identification number. Once you receive this number, you can go forward to use it to prepare your tax returns and to report your income earned in the US, although you have not yet obtained a social security number. The other way to go about it, which is advisable route if you have been working and earning in the US, is to prepare a tax returns to report income earned in a normal way on your tax returns. Report your income, report your, especially if you're self-employed, report your deductions, expenses, etc., etc. Normally, the only thing that would not be on that tax returns would be a social security number. But included in the tax returns would be your application for an individual tax identification number, your ITIN. So that W-7 form would be included in the tax return. So where you normally would put your social security number on your tax returns, shown right there on the 1040, and of course on some other pages, you just indicate tax ID number applied for. Okay, because in the tax return, as one of the schedules, one of the sheets in the tax return would be that application. Now, of course, because there's no social security number, it is impossible for you to electronically submit this tax returns. So you'd have to print it out, sign it, and mail it off to the relevant IRS office. So that tax return will go in as a normal tax returns, reporting all your income, you getting all your, your deductions, your exemptions, whatever they are in the normal way. However, because there's no social security number, you cannot electronically submit, cannot electronically file such a return. You will print, sign, date, and mail that return. Once that return goes into the IRS, then it will be processed in a normal way, and your ITIN, your tax ID number, will also be processed. So you would have filed your first tax returns, and within a reasonable time, you would receive a letter from the Internal Revenue Services granting you a tax identification number. Once you receive that, it means in the next tax season, next tax year, following the granting of that number, you are good to go. Meaning when you prepare your taxes, you'll use that ID, tax ID number on your tax returns. You'll be able to now electronically submit your tax returns because you have a number that will be recognized by the IRS database, by the IRS system once it is sent in. And you'll continue to use this number until you are granted a social security number. Okay, once you receive that social security number, of course, the ITIN, individual tax identification number, is no longer. So all your future tax returns will be prepared and submitted using your now social security number that you receive. All right. So again, the process to receive your ITIN is pretty simple, pretty straightforward, and do not, as it were, fail to carry out your obligations under the US requirements by because you're not aware that there's a way to go about receiving an ID number, filing your taxes, reporting your income, although you do not have a social security number. Okay, very, very simple, very straightforward. And so I encourage a number of persons. Oh, one more thing I need to mention is that when applying for your ITIN, your tax identification number, there are certain requirements. One of the key requirements is that you must not be eligible for a social security number, meaning if you're currently in the process, you're going through the process that will result in you receiving a social security number. For example, you're going through some immigration process to get your documentation in order, etc. You're in the process, at the end of which, or at some point in that process, you would have received a social security number. You are not allowed, you are not permitted to receive, you will not be granted a tax ID number if you're in the process of working up to a social security number. Okay, so that's usually the case again. So once you are there, you have worked, you get your tax ID, you can file your taxes. Once you start the process, but once you start the process to get a social security number, eventually it will replace the ITIN. But if you are currently in the process of working up to the social security, mean that documentation has been sent in into Homeland Security, and all this is now in process. Maybe you have gone to an interview and you're being asked to submit documents. Maybe you're just waiting on some date to go back for, for some sort of interview and compliance requirement. Then you would have been in the process to get a social security number. And therefore, under those conditions, you are not entitled and you will not be granted a tax ID number. You just have to keep calm, stay cool until your social security number comes about. All right, good. As I said before, this year, more than any other, I have quite a few persons coming, calling, asking about this whole tax ID number. Is it true that I can file without a social security number? Is it true that I can get a tax ID number, etc.? Do I have to wait? All those questions. I thought, okay, very simple, very straightforward, but let me quickly give a little tidbit on this one. So that's it for you for as far as ITIN is concerned. Again, David Etienne signing out, encouraging you to subscribe, encouraging you to always check out our site where we always have these tidbits that will give you the necessary information, put you on the right path, the straight and narrow, so that you are informed, you are knowledgeable, and by so doing, you will be successful. Okay? So have a good day again. God bless, and we'll be speaking in the coming week.